Hello, everyone. It's Aaliyah Orozco with Rise Up News Network, and today I have the honor of being joined with actor Colin A. Borden. Colin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Leah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm super interested about your career and just want to hear a little bit more about your story. So I discovered you from your roles on Dhar Mann, and I know a lot of our audience love the Dhar Mann actors. So let's start there. How did you get involved with working with Dhar Mann Studios?
About 4 years ago, maybe, I was reached out to on a site called Backstage.com to audition for them. And I did indeed, and I booked that part. But in the interim between my audition and the booking, I booked something else. So I said, "Thank you. I'm sorry, but I got to go do this other gig." And I thought I just sort of lost out on a short film, um, which was a bummer, but that's fine. There are more of those. And then
Mhm.
they called me again, and they said, "Hey, we got another one. You want to come do this one? You don't have to audition. Just come on over." I said, "That sounds great." And when I got there, it was the first episode was with Katha Norland, Ada Mekas, and Sophia
Oh,
Ciccarelli, and it was like little all stars there, and they had all done several of them, and let me know that it was a show, not like a one-off project or something like that. That they had been doing it for a while, um, and so yeah, and then now I was in after that.
tell me a little bit about the role you play. Like, do you feel like you kind of play the same role when you work for them, or
It varies a little bit. I did a lot of I played a role, Mr. Wilson, several times, who was the teacher, the foil to the Dennis the Menace character, Mikey, and that was always enjoyable. And then I did a character called Charlie, who's based off very loosely based off of Charlie Rocket, the YouTube guy who
Mhm.
goes and helps people. So I wasn't like trying to do a pastiche of him or anything like that. He's got a very distinct character to himself. I just was doing my version of a Charlie character, but I got to play him a few times, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed those couple episodes. But other than that, a lot of dads.
A lot of dads? Oh, I love that. Do you have a favorite episode that you've been able to work on? Like when you were
There were a couple. There's the first Charlie Rocket episode that I did. A homeless artist has his life changed. That one was really wonderful. And then there was one where a girl is shamed for living in a trailer park. That one was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. What has been your favorite part about working with Dhar Mann Studios?
The people there are all wonderful. You know, uh, just the caliber of actor that they can get is always really wonderful. And like that episode, the trailer park one, what made that so wonderful was working with the director and the other actor, Meg. I'm going to say her last name wrong, Cochran. But uh, it was just such an enjoyable, fun experience. He Arushi, the director, just sort of let us act, and we kind of figured the scene out where what we were doing, and it was just like we put on a play. I mean, when you shoot a movie, you do the same thing over and over again 20, 30
Mhm,
times. They're picking up the
mhm.
camera, they're moving it around, but we just did a little play 20 times that day, and it was just so enjoyable, just to get to
Yeah.
work.
No, they are all so great. Rushi is a great director. I've got to work with
That
him
was
before too, and he's amazing. I love him. Well, that's so exciting. Did you ever see yourself doing something like this? Like when you started your acting career, did you ever see yourself kind of doing like a YouTube series like Dhar Mann and something that has such like a worldwide audience?
no, no. And when I started on it, again, I thought it was just a gig.
You're like,
Yeah. And then my second episode, I think it was, I went up to, we used to shoot everything at this penthouse in downtown Los Angeles. You go back, you watch the original year or so of videos, about a year, a little over a year. And they all take place in the same building with the same white walls. And that's a hospital and a school and a home and a rich home and a poor home and all the things. But I went up to that penthouse, and Dar happened to be there that day. And he was a nice guy. He said, "Hello, great work on that other episode. So we're so happy to have you back. I'm going to go live real quick and introduce everybody to you." And I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And he picks up his phone and he's like, "Okay, hey, everybody, I'm just going to wait till like a couple thousand people get on." He waited 2, 3 seconds. I was like, "Okay, great. Now we'll start." And I was like, "Ooh, that's unusual." And then the videos started coming out, and I think the pandemic helped. People were at home. People were interested in nice, and good, and all the kinds of things that that show offers. And that really skyrocketed. And the move to YouTube, we used to just do it on Facebook, and then the move to YouTube really skyrocketed. So I was kind of caught up in the sort of tornado of it becoming a much more global phenomenon. It was a big show before I got on it, but it became like this huge thing while I was in the midst of it. So that was kind of profound, just to say that.
Yeah.
Yes. Was I expecting to act professionally? Yes, I'm happy to be a professional actor. Was I expecting to get on go do a short film that turned into like this big career where I can't take my kids to the museum anymore without getting people coming over and saying hello? I wasn't expecting that. No.
That's what I was gonna ask you about next. Like, yeah, your fans and your supporters, like, what is that like when you go places with your children or by yourself and there's people that recognize you from Dhar Mann or are excited to see you? What
It's
does that
really
feel like for you?
wonderful. I mean, it's a profound shift. I got to say that my kids are less excited about it. My daughter goes like, Dad, I heard them say Dhar Man. And then people come over and they're always very nice to my kids too, and my kids will just sort of shuffle out of the way while we take a photograph or something like that. But how could you? I've never had a bad interaction. Nobody's ever come up to me and said anything remotely rude or mean or anything like that. Everybody has been always so kind, and it's really fun to meet people. You make these things in a theater. People clap for you at the very least. Maybe nobody's coming by the stage door, but there's a little clap. Online, on television, you just sit in a room, you record a little thing, and what's the difference between 5 viewers and 5 million viewers? It's just numbers, and it's hard to kind of define. But as soon as a human being walks up to you and says, "Hey, nice work," that feels good. It can't not.
No, most definitely, I bet. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your acting journey. I watched another interview with you, and I saw that it's kind of been in your life for a while. Like
Yeah.
you've been acting your whole life. Where did that passion first even start from?
That's a good question. My very, very, very first play was a first grade school production of Little Critter Goes to School. I played the bus driver, and I had a little hat. My uncle John was a police detective in the city of Philadelphia, and he gave me his police cap. It looked very much like a bus driver cap, so I was wearing that. And when I went to take my bow, the hat fell off. Got a huge laugh. I was like, oh, now that was the most interesting part of this whole journey. The kind of like stimulating an audience towards something. And then my friend was in a play, and I followed him to an audition to kind of be with my friend, and
Yeah.
and that from there opened up a whole new world of friends and activity and joy, and it just I've never other than like entertainment work. I write, I direct, and I act. And for a spell, I worked at the Build-A-Bear workshop. But other than that, I've never endeavored anything else because I'm really not good at anything.
Well, you're good at acting, so you have a talent and you're
I
using
got
it.
that. I got that.
Well, so your whole entire life then has been acting. At what point of your life did it really become a career? Like you were making enough where like, wow, I don't even have to get another job at Build-A-Bear, this or that. I can do my living.
It was my mid-20s probably is when I took a little break from acting to pursue motion picture work. And I worked on uh, like Thor and a movie called In Time. I worked in the production office on films, and then kind of in my mid-20s, I got back into acting, and it kind of picked up kind of rapidly from there. And then the largest thing I did an episode on Better Call Saul, but the largest thing I've done is certainly Dhar Mann. That's what people would recognize me from. But yeah, so it's funny to sort of I've spent quite a while doing it and doing it for money, and and
Mhm.
and then to only have this one thing that people are like, oh, you're just this guy who does the Dhar Mann thing. I'm like, well, yeah, maybe you're right.
Do more. Definitely do more. I was gonna ask you about that next, the Better Call Saul, because I love that show. I loved Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul. I was so excited when I saw you get to be an episode for that. Talk to me a little bit about the filming process for that, and also how you got onto that show.
Well, I known the casting director, which is kind of the way anything happens here.
Hmm.
And I auditioned for a smaller part that went to the producers. They were like, "Oh, let's put him in for this one instead." And I had auditioned for the show 3 times or something like that prior to, and
Hmm.
then this one time that audition finally broke through, got to the producers. Producers saw that. They were like, well, let's bring him in for this other one, which was just only slightly bigger, but it was across 2 episodes rather than one. Um, and the whole, I mean, a show like Dhar Mann, when we started off very small, right?
Hmm.
Only genuinely 2 people on the crew. They started to get bigger. Um, Working in Hollywood on like a big film. I worked in the production office chiefly. I was on set a few times on a few movies. But to kind of be there right in the middle of the circus of this thing,
Yeah.
be surrounded by 100 people, 100 craftsmen who are just so good at what they do, and they're happy to be there. Um, they're excited by what they're working on. Better Call Saul was a great show run by great people with a great cast. So everybody's jazzed to be there. I was wearing a suit with a vest and a nice little tie, really lovely. That was a great day. Showing up and just trying on 6 or 7 different suits.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's really fun. That's like my favorite part too.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a costumer had 3 of us committed, right? So there are 9 or 10 costumers on set, just looking at 3 people, and they're looking at just what you're doing. And she would walk over after every take and adjust my tie, and I had a little piece of tape on the tie and the vest to keep that tie looking nice and sharp every time. And she'd just come over and like push on that little piece of tape, and it was just being part of that was just so incredible to be really in the thick of that moment of getting to see all those people work. And as an actor, you feel like, oh, they're making me look good. They're making themselves look good. That's always important to remember. They are doing their job and they're doing it exceptionally well. And you are the beneficiary of a certain amount of that. But yeah, that was just great. When we had all these, we were all drinking cocktails. We were at a cocktail party.
Uh-huh.
They took a marker that you would use to like for a counterfeit bill, and they marked inside of the glass where we were supposed to have our drinks in case you drank during the take. And then they'd come by with a little black light, make sure the drink was
What?
up to the line and just refill it. Did you know that they ever did that?
I have no idea. Oh my
It's a
gosh.
cool little thing to learn.
Or even like the tape of like it's to the
Yeah.
T. Like they're on spot with everything. Like your cup has to be here again. This
Ray,
has to be.
Ray Seahorn has a ponytail. I guess it was a very famous ponytail for the show. Everybody knew Kim Wexler's ponytail. Sure enough, there's a hairdresser who was committed to her walking at the end of every take and just giving that thing an extra a little twirl at the end of every take. It's just to keep everybody looking good and pristine. That's movies, man. It's crazy.
I love to hear how many people are like involved in a big production of this. Of like someone's even job is just to help the ponytail.
Yeah,
That is so fun.
it's
Well,
incredible.
what would you hope to get out of your acting career? Like when you look at the end of this, what would be the most like thrilling thing to you? Like, do you care about legacy? Is it a purpose? Like all of that stuff.
Work. I don't watch a lot of television or movies, to be totally honest.
Hmm.
Um, but it is the making, it is that process of making a thing, like just the collaboration between me and the person who's coming over, making sure that my tie is straight, um, is just exceptional. Just to spend your day doing that. I say to a lot of people who ask me about like, is acting hard? Um, the answer ultimately is no. It's very exhausting um, because you're doing it for 12 hours, 14 hours, whatever. And it's that the commitment of connecting with a human being. Think about your day. How often do you look another human being directly in the eye and really listen to them and use your memory, your physical body, your emotional self, your imagination all at once? How often is that machine, your entire self, chugging along, creating something in your regular day? And an actor gets to do that hopefully with regularity.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that is the job. That is the work, to use your entire self, to have a moment, to create something. And that's all I want to do all day, every day,
Yeah.
is just that. So the more that I can do, the better.
And I saw that you're also a writer and a director, and of
Mhm.
course, an actor, like we talked about. Multifaceted. That is amazing. Talk to me about wearing those different hats. Like, is there one that you prefer over the other? And would you say that it's kind of helped your whole journey of like, even being an actor, it's probably helped seeing the other side of things of what it looks like on camera and being a director?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And like what they all feed into each other for sure. Writing talks more to storytelling, which informs directing, which informs acting. Knowing your part in the structure of the play, the movie, whatever it is that you're working on as an actor is really vital. You can
Yeah.
go be real in your scene, but if you kind of don't know your little piece in that big Lego set that is the movie, you're not really benefiting the story, the production team, or yourself. Ultimately, you're just kind of being selfish. So having come from writing and directing informs that piece of it. I kind of understand, like, oh, you don't need to put on too much mustard onto this performance right now, right here. Right? They're not going to turn around. They're not going to put the camera in your face. You're getting one from over there, and that's fine. Uh, don't upset the apple cart. But yeah, it absolutely. I think that directing has a bit more of a thrill to me, because you get to sort of shepherd this thing from the beginning to the end,
Mm.
and that collaboration is so much wider. I love a good collaboration. I certainly have an ego. I love a good. Well, let's just do it this way. But when you're kind of plopped down in the middle of it, and you're looking around, you think, okay, here's a problem, and here's all these experts. Hey guys, how are we going to solve this problem?
Yeah.
Um, that's a great joy.
Is there anything that you would love to direct in the future? Anything we can expect of Colin, even if it's not necessarily this year, but just future wise?
Yeah, I have big plans for this year in particular. For There's a web series I'm trying to get off the ground, and a feature film that I'm trying to get off the ground, and I'm slated to direct a play in March, so that'll be exciting.
Well, busy. And that was going to be my final question for you of just what else is going on this year. So it looks like you're directing, you're going to do the play, the feature film. Are you going to act anymore this year or any other plans?
Um, Yeah, there's nothing is concrete at this exact second. I got a lot of things coming. My wife and I are working on a podcast for kids right now, that will hopefully be coming out in about a month. There's a couple, edges to kind of refine on that one, but that'll be fun. It's a
Oh,
morning show for kids. On
what is it? What'd you say?
It's a morning show for
A
kids.
morning
On-
show for kids. That's a great idea. I'm really excited to see that. So we got to stay tuned for the podcast too. That should be hopefully dropping next month. And where did
yeah.
that inspiration come from? Your children?
Yeah, I got two kids who are impossible to wake up in the morning, and the internet was not providing help, so we decided to do it ourselves.
Like, let's just make one for our own.
Yeah,
That's very innovative.
yeah.
Well, great. It has been so lovely talking with you and hearing more about your story. You have such radiant energy, and I'm super excited for your future, all those things you brought up, and you will definitely book more jobs. I'm excited to see
Thank
that.
you.
Of course. But is there any just last words that you want to share with all your supporters and fans watching today?
Even if you don't sell it, go create art.